the data mining empire that weaponized democracy for profit. In the gleaming towers of London's financial district, a company called Cambridge Analytica promised something that sounded almost too powerful to be real: the ability to read voters' minds and change them. They claimed they could take raw data about ordinary people and transform it into precise psychological weapons capable of swinging entire elections. What seemed like marketing hyperbole was actually an understatement. Between 2013 and 2018, Cambridge Analytica built a criminal enterprise that harvested the personal data of 87 million Facebook users without their consent, then weaponized that information to manipulate democratic processes in over 200 elections across 68 countries. This wasn't just a story about privacy violations or political dirty tricks. This was the systematic conversion of democracy itself into a commodity, sold to the highest bidder by a company that treated election interference as just another business model. The mastermind behind this operation was Alexander Nix, a charismatic British aristocrat who understood that in the digital age, information wasn't just power, it was the most valuable currency on Earth. Nix had previously worked for SCL Group, a military contractor specializing in psychological operations for defense departments and intelligence agencies. The techniques they developed to destabilize enemy populations during wartime were now being repackaged for civilian political campaigns. In 2013, Nix launched Cambridge Analytica as SCL's American subsidiary, backed by $15 million from Robert Mercer, the reclusive hedge fund billionaire who would later become one of Donald Trump's largest donors. Mercer wasn't just providing capital, he was investing in a weapon. Steve Bannon, who would later serve as Trump's chief strategist, joined as vice president and board member, bringing with him a network of political operatives hungry for any advantage that could deliver conservative victories. The company's name itself was Calculated Deception, chosen to sound academic and respectable while concealing its true nature as a political warfare operation. Cambridge Analytica's business model required something unprecedented: intimate psychological profiles of every potential voter in target countries. Traditional polling might survey a few thousand people. Cambridge Analytica needed to psychologically map entire populations. This is where Dr. Alexander Kogan entered the picture. Kogan was a data scientist at Cambridge University who had developed what appeared to be an innocent personality quiz app called This Is Your Digital Life. Users who downloaded the app answered questions about their preferences and personality traits, seemingly harmless data collection that thousands of apps were doing. But Kogan had engineered something far more sinister. His app didn't just collect data from the people who voluntarily installed it. It also harvested detailed information about everyone in those users' Facebook networks, including private messages, location data, relationship status, and complete friend lists. Through this single app, used by only 270,000 people, Cambridge Analytica gained unauthorized access to the personal data of 87 million Facebook users. Facebook's API at the time allowed this kind of mass harvesting, but their terms of service strictly prohibited selling or transferring the data to third parties. Kogan violated these terms systematically, receiving over $800,000 from Cambridge Analytica for data that Facebook users never consented to share. The raw Facebook data was valuable, but Cambridge Analytica's real innovation was transforming it into psychological weapons using a technique called psychographic profiling. Traditional demographic targeting might focus on age, income, or geography, but psychographics attempted to map personality traits, emotional triggers, fears, and desires. Cambridge Analytica employed teams of data scientists who fed the Facebook information through machine learning algorithms designed to identify psychological vulnerabilities. They claimed their models could predict not just how someone would vote, but what specific messages would be most likely to change their behavior. The company boasted that they had created individual psychological profiles for over 230 million American adults, rating each person on personality traits like openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. These profiles became the foundation for what Cambridge Analytica called behavioral micro-targeting, the ability to deliver personalized propaganda designed to exploit each individual's specific psychological weaknesses. A person rated high in neuroticism might receive fear-based messages about crime or terrorism, while someone rated high in openness might receive messages emphasizing change and reform. Cambridge Analytica first tested their psychological warfare techniques during the 2014 midterm elections in the United States, working for Republican candidates in 44 races. The results convinced them that they had developed something revolutionary. Alexander Nix began aggressively marketing the company's services to political clients around the world, promising election victories through what he called information dominance. The company's marketing materials featured military-style graphics and language borrowed from psychological operations manuals. They offered a menu of services that ranged from conventional campaign consulting to what could only be described as election manipulation. Internal documents later revealed that Cambridge Analytica maintained a database called The Weapon that contained psychological profiles and voting predictions for hundreds of millions of people. The company's proposals to potential clients explicitly described their ability to increase the power of your message by ensuring it is constructed with the appropriate psychological triggers. They weren't just running political campaigns. They were conducting mass psychological manipulation experiments on entire populations. The 2016 Brexit referendum became Cambridge Analytica's first major international success, though the full extent of their involvement wouldn't be revealed for years. The company worked closely with Leave EU, one of the main pro-Brexit campaigns, providing data analytics and targeting services worth millions of pounds. Cambridge Analytica used their Facebook-derived psychological profiles to identify British voters who were undecided about European Union membership, then bombarded them with personalized messages designed to trigger anti-EU sentiment. The company's internal emails later revealed they had specifically targeted voters in key swing constituencies with messages about immigration, sovereignty, and economic fears, tailored to each individual's psychological profile. Aaron Banks, a major Brexit financier, paid Cambridge Analytica over £2 million for their services, money that came through a complex web of offshore companies designed to obscure the funding sources. The Brexit vote passed by just 1.3 million votes out of over 33 million cast, a margin narrow enough that Cambridge Analytica's micro-targeted manipulation could have been decisive. European investigators later determined that the Leave campaigns had violated campaign finance laws and data protection regulations, but by then Brexit was already underway. The 2016 American presidential election represented the culmination of Cambridge Analytica's criminal enterprise. The Trump campaign paid Cambridge Analytica $6.2 million, making them one of the largest vendors in the entire operation. The company provided the Trump team with what they called Project Alamo, a comprehensive psychological profiling system that could predict individual voter behavior and deliver personalized persuasion messages through social media platforms. Cambridge Analytica claimed they ran over 1,000 different targeted advertising campaigns for Trump, delivering 5.9 billion personalized advertisements to specific voters in swing states. The company's role went far beyond traditional campaign consulting. Internal documents revealed that Cambridge Analytica was actively coordinating with Russian-linked social media operatives who were running parallel disinformation campaigns. Company executives, including Alexander Nix, had multiple contacts with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, discussing the strategic release of hacked Democratic Party emails. The Trump campaign's digital director, Brad Parscale, later admitted that Cambridge Analytica's psychological targeting was instrumental in Trump's victory, allowing the campaign to suppress Democratic turnout in key cities while maximizing Republican turnout in suburban areas. Cambridge Analytica's global operations revealed the true scope of their criminal enterprise. The company maintained offices in 14 countries and had conducted election manipulation campaigns across 5 continents. In Kenya, Cambridge Analytica worked for President Uhuru Kenyatta's campaign, using harvested Facebook data to inflame ethnic tensions and suppress opposition turnout. The company's work contributed to post-election violence that killed over 100 people. In Mexico, Cambridge Analytica provided psychological profiling services to the PRI party, helping them maintain power despite widespread corruption scandals. The company worked in India during the 2014 elections that brought Narendra Modi to power, using WhatsApp and Facebook to spread targeted propaganda to hundreds of millions of voters. Internal Cambridge Analytica documents revealed active projects in Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, Nigeria, Ghana, and dozens of other countries. The company wasn't just manipulating individual elections, they were systematically undermining democratic processes worldwide, selling their services to authoritarian leaders, corrupt politicians, and anyone willing to pay for election victories through mass manipulation. By 2017, Cambridge Analytica had become so confident in their illegal operations that they began openly marketing their criminal services to undercover investigators. In a series of secretly recorded meetings, Alexander Nix and other executives bragged about their ability to manipulate elections through bribery, blackmail, and disinformation campaigns. Nix told undercover reporters that the company could arrange for clients to be photographed in compromising positions, create fake social media accounts to spread propaganda, and funnel illegal campaign contributions through offshore shell companies. He described how Cambridge Analytica had used fake news websites and bot networks to manipulate public opinion, claiming they had perfected techniques for making disinformation appear to come from legitimate sources. The company maintained relationships with foreign intelligence agencies and offered to help clients evade campaign finance laws and data protection regulations. These recordings provided smoking gun evidence that Cambridge Analytica wasn't just pushing ethical boundaries, they were operating as a criminal organization that treated election fraud as a standard business practice. The Cambridge Analytica scandal finally exploded into public view in March 2018 when Christopher Wiley, the company's former research director, became a whistleblower. Wiley revealed that Cambridge Analytica had harvested Facebook data on an unprecedented scale and used it to manipulate elections around the world. His testimony to the British Parliament and U.S. Congress provided detailed evidence of the company's criminal activities, including the unauthorized data harvesting, the psychological manipulation campaigns, and the coordination with foreign operatives. Facebook's stock price immediately dropped by $120 billion as investors realized the company had allowed its platform to be used for mass election manipulation. Mark Zuckerberg was forced to testify before Congress, admitting that Facebook had failed to protect user data and had been too slow to spot and address the abuse of their platform. The revelations triggered investigations in multiple countries and led to the largest fine in Federal Trade Commission history, $5 billion against Facebook for privacy violations. Alexander Nix was arrested and charged with multiple criminal offenses, though he continued to deny wrongdoing even as evidence mounted against him. Cambridge Analytica officially shut down in May 2018, but many of its key personnel simply moved to other companies and continued the same activities under different names. The company's closure came too late to undo the damage. They had already manipulated hundreds of elections and demonstrated that democracy itself could be hacked by anyone with sufficient data and criminal intent. The Cambridge Analytica scandal revealed that the social media platforms millions of people use daily had been weaponized against them, turning their personal information into ammunition for psychological warfare. The case fundamentally changed how the world understood the relationship between technology, privacy, and democracy, proving that in the digital age, the greatest threat to democratic societies might come not from foreign armies or economic collapse, but from criminals in business suits who had learned to hack human psychology itself. The suited criminals of Cambridge Analytica had shown that with enough data and sophisticated manipulation techniques, even the most fundamental democratic processes could be bought and sold like any other commodity.